All right. Hello, everybody. How is it going out there? Been a busy week, so we might not have too many people on the call here. A lot of them are out at conferences. There's several different conferences going on this week. So anyway, and I am headed out shortly after this. I was gonna actually put this call on to Wednesday, but I had so many things going on that just wasn't going to work for me to get out of here today. So anyway. A couple of things, and if you guys have questions, go ahead and feel free to hop out anytime. I've got a few things to cover here today, but as always, it's open for you guys for whatever you need. So feel free to hop out anytime. One of the things I wanted to talk about is a new thing that came to my attention this week. I'm sure you guys are probably aware of the GDPR regulations that came out, I don't remember if it was last year or earlier this year, but caused quite a bit of stir. It was all about the UK stuff and the privacy and all the new hoops that we have to jump through to take opt-ins on our websites. Well, they've increased that. They've actually upped the ante on that whole GDPR thing. And what it's being referred to now is a link tax, which is crazy. I mean, imagine paying a tax for your links. That's kind of crazy stuff, but that's what they're implying that's going to happen. And what I'm talking about, I'm not talking about an actual dollar tax. I'm talking about a tax of you have to jump through hoops now to get people to follow you. And here's kind of the reason why. Google shovels a tremendous amount of traffic to websites, and somebody has to pay for that bandwidth. And over in the UK, I guess a lot of their internet is free. A lot of it is provided as free service to their people, their citizens. And the more bandwidth, the more it costs. So what they're seeing is they're seeing Google shoveling so much traffic into the EU that they're winding up paying for that. So what they want to do, rather than a tax like a dollar tax, they want to limit the traffic. So what they're going to do is, or what I heard about them considering doing, I don't think this is being done yet, but it's definitely on the chalkboard, and it may come to fruition, is they're looking at blocking links based on content providers. So the proposed thing, as I understand it, and again, I don't have the details on this. I don't know how this is going to shuffle out. This is just kind of an overview of what might be on the horizon if you're dealing with people in the UK from here, from the US. So what is proposed to happen is, if you are in the UK and you're a publisher, everyone's automatically opted in. They're automatically opted in to receive your content. And if you're not in the UK, you're automatically opted out. So basically, the links to your stuff would not be available. That would almost be like they would be blocking them from you. And, again, this all sounds pretty far-fetched, but I really wouldn't put it past them after that whole GDPR debacle that they threw out on the table. So anyway, that's what I'm referring to as the EU link tax. Now, the short answer to that, how to get around that, is, remember I said if you were a publisher in the EU, you were automatically opted in, and if you weren't, you're automatically opted out. The big thing here is to get opted in. So the way to do that would either be to register as an EU publisher, or there's a way to get it in your schema tags. So I don't have the details on that yet, but as soon as I do, I'll let you guys know. John says, sounds like China. Yeah, very, very similar. They restrict access to what their citizens can see. That's exactly, what we're talking about here. So for different purposes, though, I think in China they want to keep control over the information. I think it's more about that. They don't want outside propaganda. They don't kind of want to keep their citizens with their heads stuck in the sand. I think that's more the reason there. But anyway, schema and open data is ultimately going to be the answer for how to opt in automatically. And that's something that you'll be able to put in your global tags and kind of eliminate this. But just know that this is potentially on the horizon if you deal with the UK and the EU nations. If not, it's not a big deal. It probably doesn't apply to most of us. So anyway, just I thought that was interesting and worth putting out here so you guys know what potentially might be coming. But it's going to be permission based, basically permission based content is what's on the horizon. Another thing I thought was really interesting was recently, just this last Sunday, Barb and I went down to an Indian resort casino to see Peter Frampton. You know, we loved that music back from the 70s or whatever it was, and we thought it'd be really cool to go out and see Peter Frampton live. And it was not a great experience. And I wanted to contrast this to what I teach in the Elvis shift. And basically in the Elvis shift, it's Elvis's concept of how I believe he went from a struggling musician to the king of rock and roll overnight. And it follows along with the ACT program. He basically gave his viewers exactly what they wanted. As soon as he figured out what they wanted, that is what he gave them. And he was not going to change that unless they changed what they wanted. I saw an interview with him when he came back from the war, and the interviewer asked him point blank, he said, Elvis, do you think your audience has changed while you've been away? And his answer was very, very specific. He said, no, he says, I don't really believe that they have changed. But he said, if they have, I'd be crazy not to change with them. So that is, you know, and I refer to that as the Elvis shift. He was doing something originally that was not working. He was playing music that his audience didn't want. There was already a ton of it in the market. There was no differentiation, and they were fed up with it. You know, he was playing gospel music. The young girls that fell in love with him when he changed his message, they didn't want to hear that. They were hearing that everywhere, and it was not what they were looking for. They were looking for something a little more racy. And when he came out on stage, I believe it might have been the Ed Sullivan show. I could be wrong there, but it was some show he came out on TV, and it was one of the first appearances where he really, really went big. And the thing was, when he came out on the stage, he was so nervous. He had a twitch. His knee was uncontrollably twitching. And the girls went absolutely nuts. The girls in the front row went crazy every time his knee would twitch. Now, he was very observant. He saw that, and he noticed it, and he actually played into it. He gave them what they wanted. He did something, they responded. He accentuated it, they responded more. So that became part of his act. And that's really what I refer to as the Elvis shift. That's all it is. It's basically figuring out what your audience really wants and giving it to them, and not giving them something different. No bait and switch. Now, in contrast, when we went to this Peter Frampton concert, we were expecting the hits. We were expecting what we wanted. Now, he came out and he put up a cover band. Not a cover band, it was a new band. Happened to be his son's band. And it was nothing like his music. It was, Barb and I quite honestly thought it was just pure noise, to be honest with you. Didn't turn us on. He was on there for an hour. And then another cover band came up, Led Zeppelin cover band. We actually liked that one. We thought they were pretty awesome. It was the son of the original, I think it was the original drummer, and he was phenomenal. So that was another hour. And think about this, they started at 7:30, I think. So now we're up to 9:30, and Frampton has not even hit the stage yet. You know, his audience, they're considerably older. I mean, Barb and I felt like we were probably the young ones in the group. So, you know, think about that. Do you really want to keep an older audience up late at night? That's not really using your head. You know, you're not in tune with the audience. So anyway, 9:30 rolls around. He comes out, he hits the stage after a short break, and he starts playing blues music because that's what he loves now. And the first song, about 10% of the audience got up out of their seats and left. The second song, about 20% of the people got up out of their seats and left. And the third blues song that he played, it was probably half of his audience. It was a mass exodus. And I'm like, seriously, you cannot see what's going on here? You might want to shift. You might want to give these people what they came for. He played, of 2 hours of playing, I think he played 2 songs that we even recognized, and they weren't his best. And I'm like, really? All those people that were getting up out of their seats and leaving, in our world, that's an opt-out. They're not coming back. You don't get a second chance. And it's like, it was such an eye-opener to watch that happen. It was really incredible. And I'm like, my God, this guy, you know, for lack of a better word, this guy's an idiot. He just took raving fans and basically destroyed them. He wiped them out in one sweep. I'm like, wow, that is not a way to treat your customers. You know, so that really goes back to the whole Elvis shift thing, and that's, you know, an example of how not to do that. So pretty interesting, and I thought that was worth bringing up, because it's so true. When you build an audience, when you spend time and money to get people to opt in, and then you give them something opposite of what they came for, they're going to opt out. And it's painful. I mean, how much money and time does it take to build your list? You know, that's a valuable asset. You should treat it as though it's gold. And if you don't, if you're haphazard with it, and you do what he did on stage, he destroyed his list. I guarantee you, half of those people, the ones that left, they will never go to his stuff again, ever. He'll just be off their radar, and I'm one of them. I stayed it was painful. I stayed just to watch to the end to see what was going to happen. I wanted to see how many people are going to leave, and what's he actually going to do. So, I mean, I stayed, and Barb was pissed. She did not. She was ready to go halfway through his deal. And I kept holding her back. I'm like, no, he's going to play some good stuff. He's going to play some good stuff. And he didn't. You know, like I said, the whole 2 hours, he played 2 songs we even recognized, and they weren't his best. So, again, you know, it's like this has nothing to do with marketing, but it has everything to do with marketing. And again, you know, just circling back, it comes down to understanding, you know, what is your audience like? Why did they follow you? And don't change that. You know, they're following you for a reason. If you all of a sudden change religions and they're following you from a religion, what do you think is going to happen? You know, if you're in politics and they're following you because you have certain politics and they like that, what do you think is going to happen if you just all of a sudden change them and say, oh no, I like this now? What do you think is going to happen to that audience that you built? They're going to say goodbye really quickly. Same thing with your lists. So, you know, and it's like Elvis said, I thought that interview was absolutely brilliant, the way he answered that question. And he was, you know, he was right on target. He said, no, I don't believe my audience has changed, but if they have, I would change with them. I'd be crazy not to change with them. So pretty, it's pretty distinctful answer. So Sayed, you have your hand up. You want to ask a question here?
Yes, I am here. Hi, John.
Hi, how's it going?
Yeah. First, I would like to thanks. It's a great platform for me, and I learn a lot from you. And your platform is so nice.
Oh, well,
Thank
thank
you for
you.
thank you for giving me an apprenticeship. And I'm hopeful I learn a lot. I after 90 days, I will definitely it's my career job, and it's very meaningful and fruitful for me.
All right. Well, awesome. Well, thank you, for being on here.
Thank you,
And
John.
yeah, yeah,
So my question is,
you're kind of breaking up there.
first, I yeah, uh, about Facebook marketing.
Okay.
Can I ask you?
Yeah, but you were really broken
Can
up
you hear?
there. Yeah, I can only get it like every couple of words there. Tell you what, type your question in the chat, and then I'll go ahead and answer it for you. All right.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, just type it in the chat. I'll go ahead and address it for you. But again, thank you for being on here. I appreciate your participation. And yes, you're going to learn a lot. This program it's like the whole backbone of marketing. And if I know you're going to be in the job market here, and there's a lot of people in our group that they need people to hire. So you might be a perfect candidate. I'm going to put a section together in here for outsourcers, people that want to, get jobs, and then the people that are going through. I know a lot of them are business owners, and they want to learn this stuff, but then they don't actually want to do it. So I think that'll be really cool. So anyway, yeah, go ahead and type your question in the thing there, and I'll get you answered. Okay, anybody else in the meantime here?
Hey, John, while he's typing his question, I got a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead, Russ.
Did you have a chance to look at your TrafficSpy software?
Actually, I haven't. I did buy it though. I bought it, and I noticed that they put the price up on it. I wasn't aware they were going to do that. I think I bought it at 47, and then right after that they bumped it up to 97. But it's a one-time thing, and it looks great. It looks like a really good tool. But I haven't. This week has just been crazy with all the stuff going on. So I haven't had a chance to actually play around with it, but I will do that. I'll get in there. It'll probably be a couple weeks down the road, and then I'll have maybe I'll do a review on it for you.
Now, was that for YouTube, or what type of traffic was it for?
This was for all traffic. This was it covered YouTube, it covered Facebook, covered Twitter, and I believe Pinterest. I think those were the 4 big ones that it was covering.
Okay. I have a separate question for you.
Okay.
For brand linking strategies and creating brand anchor text, do you have any recommendations on creating brand linking strategies?
Yes, and this kind of goes across the board for any kind of linking at this point in the game. If you can make your links conversational and add your brand into the conversation, I think those are going to be the most valuable. If you and I say this based on what's coming with or not coming, it's already here, but what has come a long way in voice search. Google is basically, they're looking at this no longer at a keyword perspective. I know a lot of us are still doing keyword research the way we've always done it in the past, but keyword research has really changed. And here's something that I want to share with you guys in relationship to keyword research. Google is not always truthful with what they put out. You know, this is something I've learned over the years. And like if you're doing keyword research in their tools, you're taking their information. They're giving you information for number of searches, cost per click, all of that kind of stuff. There's a point where you got to look at that and wonder, is this actually true? You know, is this true valuable information, or are they spoofing this? You know, are they doing stuff to lead us down a path, possibly to get you to buy stuff, pay more, what have you? The other thing is they spoof information to throw the SEO world off. And I know they've done this. They've actually put bait keywords out there. Long time ago, when I was using Word Tracker, and for any of you guys that go way back, you might remember that tool. Word Tracker was a keyword research tool. It would churn up like thousands of keywords for you. And we were doing that. We were using the tool for AdWords. We were creating content based on what the highest paying AdWords clicks were, so we could generate revenue from the AdWords platform. That was kind of the game back then. And I was using Word Tracker and training people how to use Word Tracker to find those. And what I found was Google was throwing out seed keywords for people that were bait. They were keywords that didn't really exist. Google was like putting out weird keyword strings to see who would bite on it. So I told people, be very, very careful when you do your keyword research. Look at the keywords, make sure they make sense. Like there was some keywords like in the dog training world. That was a big one for AdWords. So in dog training, they would do like one of the keywords they would throw out and say there was a huge volume of search for it was dog training ADS. Well, there was no dog training ADS. They made it up to see who would optimize for it. So all of a sudden, people were optimizing for dog training ADS, and guess what? They were getting their sites banned because they were trying to manipulate Google's results. So they do this. They throw out information, and I don't think they're giving us the real thing. I don't think, like when we do keyword research now, I don't think we're seeing the real search strings. And I say this from a couple of different perspectives. When I was actually at Google at their Mountain View facility, they hired me in there to do some testing. And when I was actually in the facility, over the doorways, they have these scrolling, these little scrolling banners, and there's words flying by there like really, really fast, like a ticker tape thing, almost like what you see in the stock market. And I asked somebody, I go, what is that? You know, what's the stuff going by over all the doors? And they said, that's live search. That's actually searches that are happening in real time. And I'm looking at it, I sat down for about a half hour just to watch these things go by. And as I was watching them go by, it was just crazy shit. It was like, what the hell? It was a real eye-opener into how people actually search, what they actually type in. It was, I didn't see anything I recognized of what we consider a normal keyword string. It was like, it was not only conversational, a lot of it didn't make sense. It was just like crazy stuff. And you know, the basis to that is that's the way people search. What Google's trying to do, and they're using their artificial intelligence to do this, they're trying to figure out what is the intent of every search. Like when somebody starts to type something in, what's the intent? Is the intent to get to a particular brand with a navigational search? They totally understand that concept. They're trying to understand the intent of the user when they do the search phrase. So conversational, and I do believe from after Penguin, when Penguin hit, that's when I recognized that conversational anchor text was really important, and brand anchor text and the combination thereof. So that goes way back. And now what you have a combination of all of that stuff going on. The ultimate thing underlying the whole beast is Google's trying to figure out the intent. So if you've got anchor text that matches the intent, I believe that would be a very strong type of anchor text to use. And intent meaning that you're putting your brand in there as well. So like, you know, like when you see, another thing is looking at what is actually being consumed out there, and using SEMrush is a really good tool for that. Again, SEMrush, when they do their keyword research, they're actually a really good source for keyword research, but a lot of times I don't see those long conversational anchor text strings. And I think the reason is because Google's hiding them. I don't think they're releasing the most valuable information. You'll notice this, they always hide the most valuable information. Like a perfect example of that is when Google bought a company called Urchin. There was a company called Urchin that did analytics, and they were really good at it. It was like the best analytics that you could possibly find. And you could buy the Urchin software and you could run it on your server, which I did back then. Google bought the Urchin company and converted it into what you know now as Google Analytics. That's where Google Analytics came from. They gave that out for free, and one of the best things about that was it would tell you exactly how people were reaching your site. It would give you the exact keyword phrases that they typed in to get to you. And that was like gold. That was absolute gold, because you could tell what they were searching for, the exact terms, and then you could optimize that. Well, Google recognized that. And what happened was Google not only recognized it, they recognized how important that was, and they removed it. They went and they took it out. They flat pulled it out of their Google Analytics. So now you see unspecified. Like the majority of the search phrases will be under unspecified. They're hiding that information from you. Now, if you go in and you use their webmaster tools, you can kind of dig some of it back out that way, but they really wanted to hide that. So not cool. It was not a cool thing whatsoever. But so back in short answer to your question, I do believe that putting brand links, brand terms into your linking, into your anchor text is a good thing to do. But also, if you can figure out like intent type searches, what the person's really looking for, and match that, then I think you've kind of got some gold there. Okay, so on to the questions here. If we run a campaign on Facebook, what is the first step of the campaign? Awareness or engagement, also conversion. Okay, so anytime that you're running any kind of a traffic campaign, you're always looking for, okay, what do you want to do with this campaign? Do you want someone to opt in? That would be like a conversion type. I would really typically steer toward those, because unless you're a big company, unless you have a lot of money, doing the whole awareness and engagement thing, you can blow a lot of money with really no intent. You know, if you're a smaller company or you're just starting out, you really need conversion. You need to be focused on either building a list, getting people to opt in, and that has a lot to do with your campaign as well. I see a lot of people that do SEO and they buy traffic and they send it to websites that is very unclear of what the message is or what you want them to do. And ultimately, when you do that, they wind up just not doing anything. And that's really expensive. You know, if you want to see some expensive advertising, that's a really good formula to do that. I don't think it's a good idea at all, but you always want to focus any kind of paid ads into a conversion. It's like, what do you want them to do? You don't necessarily have to sell them something, but you want to convert them. You know, I talk about awareness in one of the lessons. We talk about the pyramid of awareness. Facebook is a really good way to target people that are unaware. So technically, yeah, that's an awareness thing, but we're trying to get them to take an action. So really, the ad type would be conversion. So when you look at your audience and you look at the, you know, the awareness pyramid, the biggest opportunity is always going to be in the base where they're not aware. Either they don't even know they have a problem, or they don't know that you're an answer to the problem. So getting in front of them and activating their awareness, that either make them aware that they do have a problem, or make them aware that you have a solution for the problem, or there's a better way. That's a really good type of campaign to engage people in. So again, the whole engagement, the awareness, they're words that are important, but from the campaign standpoint, I'm always focused on conversion there for the actual campaign. Whether, you know, whatever our intent is. Our intent in Facebook generally is to make them aware, engage with the point of conversion being our action that we want to come out of it with. So hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Fine. That's great.
Okay. Perfect. All right. So Jim wants to know here, SEMrush gets its data from Google. Yes, that is absolutely true. Okay. So they're not a question. You're just making a statement. Yeah. That's absolutely true. Most keyword research tools are getting the data from Google. You know, that's kind of the core of the data. So my whole point to that was, be careful when you're looking at data. Don't just take everything as it's true and gospel. You know, a lot of our younger generation, they're under the impression that they believe anything they read. It's kind of crazy. You know, I've got nieces and nephews that you know, it's kind of frustrating. You know, you tell them something and then they don't believe you. They go and they look online and they will believe whatever they read, even if it's not true, but they take the read thing as true. It's kind of crazy. So that, you know, if you're in that mode and you believe everything that you see and you don't question it, that's, you know, or you put your value on what you don't question in what you read, not what you hear, and not basing it on where it's coming from. That's a dangerous game to play, especially in the optimization world. You know, in the optimization world, it's kind of it's a delicate dance that we dance. You know, we want to do things for our benefit, and when we do that, we're going against the terms of service that puts us in danger. So, you know, you've got to play that game with a very delicate dance. So anyway, and keep in mind that Google's always trying to bait you. Okay, Ted says first step in a Facebook ad is to add the pixel. Yes, that is a really good point. Any kind of advertising, and that's not just Facebook. If you're going to do any kind of advertising, or if you even have a website, if you have a website that's got traffic on it and you're not collecting the retargeting data, you're really kind of missing the boat, because that's a new opt-in. You know, it used to be we would bring people to our site and we'd try to get them to opt into a mailing list. Well, you know, that was easy in the beginning, but it's not so easy now. A lot of people are really cagey. They don't want to put their email address in, even if the information is great. But the other thing is they rarely, if ever, buy on the first round. You know, they hit your site, they don't buy, they leave. The chances of them getting back to your site is actually pretty slim, unless you've got a way to engage them. And if you didn't get them on your mailing list, you're kind of out in the cold then at this point. So retargeting is a way to keep them in the fold without them actually opting in and giving you their email address. And for those of you that are not familiar with it or not aware of what retargeting is, it's a little code that you put in your web page, and what it does, it places what's called a cookie on the browser that views your web page. That cookie basically just says, okay, this person viewed this website. Now, when they go to another website, if that website is displaying advertisements, the advertisement company that's displaying the ads, they look for the cookie to see what websites that viewer has been to, so they understand what they like, so they can show them the right ads. It's a really cool thing. You probably have seen this. You were probably on a site looking at something, and then you went, you know, to another site that displayed ads. And a lot of sites display ads, especially news sites, entertainment sites, sites that are not like company sites. If you go to somebody to buy a product, they probably are not going to show ads to you. But if you're on like e-entertainment, or you're going to look for a movie, movie selections, stuff like that, any kind of an entertainment site or a news site like CNN, they all display ads. They all have advertisers that support them. And when you go there, the advertiser has to decide which ad they're going to display. And you know, you might think that, oh, they're going to display the one that they make the most money, and that's not true anymore. They want to display the one that makes the most sense. A lot of people, a lot of advertisers have learned their lesson from doing the wrong thing. And what happens is people complain. Like the advertiser that is displaying your ads, if their viewers complain to them about, why are you showing me those ads? I don't like that. What do you think is going to happen? They're going to kill off the advertiser. You know, so, and in this case, the advertisers are a company that's displaying those ads on your website. So they could lose business by doing that. So it's in their best interest, again, to supply a good user experience. If they're showing you ads for sites you've already been on, what's the chance of you saying, oh, I don't like that? It's not very likely. So it's a good thing all the way around. For the actual advertiser that's following you around with the ads, you've opted in. They get to follow you with the ads, and what this does, this increases the likelihood that they'll go back to your site when they're actually ready to buy something. Remember, in my first scenario there, they come, they hit your site, they leave, they didn't opt in. The chances of them ever coming back without retargeting is pretty far-fetched. They would have had to have bookmarked you. They would have had to remember your name. A lot of things would have had to have happened for that process to be able to take place. But if you do it this way, what happens is now the ad is following them around, and they keep getting reminded. And that's the way, like if you look at television advertisement, they realized this back in the, I don't know, whenever television started, back in the 50s or so. They realized that you had to run the ad repeatedly for it to work. It's the same thing here. Nothing changed, just the medium. Now it's not TV, it's retargeting on the internet. It's showing the ad repeatedly, so it builds the demand and desire over time. And a lot of times this is a subconscious level that I'm talking about here. It's exposure to your brand. It's brand awareness. What happens when you go into the supermarket and you need a tube of toothpaste? You wind up on the toothpaste aisle and you look and you're like, holy shit, what the hell have I just walked into? There's 80 different toothpaste brands. And you're looking at them like, what? And you find yourself reaching out and grabbing the tube of Crest. Why is that? It's because it's burned into your head that 4 out of 5 dentists recommend Crest, because you've heard that commercial over and over and over, and it's burnt into your subconscious. Hey, if 4 out of 5 dentists recommend Crest, I should just go with that. You know, that's why you subconsciously, that it's your subconscious that reaches out for the Crest. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the best. You know, you might reach out for a different one because maybe you were exposed to a different ad campaign, and they got to work on your subconscious. They got to create that need for their product. But that's how it works. So it's very highly engineered how this takes place. None of this is haphazard. When you hire an ad agency, they figure out the buying triggers. They figure out what's important to you, and they build their ad campaigns around that, and then they grill you over and over and over with them. So it becomes, they call it, there's a name for this in the ad business. It's called becoming a household name. If you can take your product and you can take it from being nowhere to being a household name, I guarantee you just changed your life, because household names sell nationally. If you become a household name, imagine how many more sales you would make, because people would be walking down the aisle and they'd just be reaching for your product. That's what I'm talking about here. That's the end goal. You want to become a household name for whatever it is that you're offering. And if you can do that, even if it's in a little niche, you've got a major win there. That's how the game is played. That's how the game is won. So, you know, that's, it's funny. When I talk about this stuff, sometimes I feel like I'm up on a soapbox, and I don't mean to do that. I just really want to emphasize how important this stuff is, and it's real. You know, it is. It's been going on for a very, very long time. And when I see people struggle at you know, in business, it's so clear to me why they're struggling. They haven't figured out how it works yet. And some of them have figured it out. They just haven't figured out how to implement it yet. And it's really not that difficult. I mean, take it back to the basics. What is it about your product that your customer is going to want? You got to really think about that in a very simplistic way. Why do they want this? What problem does it solve? What are they facing? I mean, the whole ACT program is so specific in figuring all this out. If you go through it from front to back, it walks through every little process, from gearing it down to the market segmentation, figuring out of that segment, who's your most profitable person inside that segment. And then you just dig into the nitty gritty. What are they feeling? What are they going through? Why is this important to them? What is their desired outcome? And I guarantee if you can get your head wrapped around that stuff, you can figure out what is it that's going to trigger them to buy. What is it that's going to trigger them to have an objection to prevent them from buying? I mean, seriously, if you get those little things figured out and you create an ad campaign, it's going to be an absolute winner. You know, it's going to be there's no way it's not. Because if you can figure out why they want it, what it's going to do for them, and it's, you know, you got that part right, and you actually have a product that serves a need, and there's a big enough market, you know, all that stuff has to be in play. But if it's all in play, there's only one thing that's going to get in the way of you in a sale, and that is an objection. And we've covered that extensively in the training of how to eliminate those objections. Every objection is based on a belief, you know, and again, that's part of the analysis, is figuring out what is their beliefs, you know, based on where they are. What are they seeing? What are they hearing? What are people telling them? What's their experience been? You know, if you've got a product that's you know, not a known thing, maybe they've experienced it before. Like diet pills are a perfect example. You know, everybody's tried diet pills at one time or another, most people, or at least, and they know they didn't work. You know, and it's because there is no magic pill to lose weight. It's, you know, it's a concept. if you're buying the pill, basically you're opting in for, hey, I really have a problem here, I need to deal with this. But it's the whole thing that's actually going to take the weight off. It's, unless you change what you're eating and you start moving more, obviously you're not going to lose weight. But they sell the pill, right? So most people that have taken the pill and it didn't work, guess what? That's a belief. They created a belief that, well, I tried that and it doesn't work. So if you come into the market and you're selling a diet pill, you need to know that. Otherwise, you are not going to make a sale to that person. If they in their mind, whether it's true or not, your pill might be totally different, but it doesn't matter, because in their mind, they bought a pill, they took the pill, it didn't work. So their objection is pills don't work. If you don't understand that, you're not going to get them to buy. So again, we've got the formula for eliminating the objection. That's, it came right from Benjamin Franklin. I dug it out of his archives. I went back as far as I could find, and he may have created that. And it's a formula that eliminates objections. And the way it does it, it changes the belief system. Very simple to do, very easy. I see a lot of people in NLP using a similar type thing, but the reality is some people call it neuro-linguistic programming, some people call it rewiring the subconscious, some people call it changing your meta tracks. It doesn't matter what you call it. The thing that's happening is you're changing a belief. The belief is what drives the outcome. Willpower alone doesn't work, because willpower is challenged constantly and it's weak. It's the driving force underneath that's created by the beliefs that's stronger than oak. So if you're up against something and you're trying to make a sale and you're up against something stronger than oak, good luck. You need to change that belief so it's in your favor. So then all of a sudden that stronger than oak that was against you is now for you. What do you think is going to happen to your sales? I think they're going to go up. If I had the choice of a belief being for me or against me that was stronger than oak, I think I would take the one that was for me. And the cool thing is you can create those. Any belief, I don't care what it is, any belief can be changed. And it's just a matter of a simple formula to do it. You guys probably know it because you've heard me say it, a million times, and you've probably seen it in the training, but the formula is claim, proof, benefit. And you're basically just a real quick overview. If anybody hasn't heard that, the way it works is you make a claim contrary to the existing belief. Whatever the belief is, you just make a claim that's absolutely contrary to it. Now, a claim by itself is just that. It's like water off a duck. Nobody pays attention to it because it's just hearsay. It's like you wouldn't go into a courtroom and just throw out hearsay. They throw it out, right? You have to turn it into a fact. In a court case, they only care about facts. They don't care about hearsay, and it's for the same reason. So when you add your claim and your proof to it, what you're doing, the proof points say that this isn't really a claim, this is a fact. And as soon as the person on the other end absorbs that, the belief instantly changes. So in that one single sentence, 4 out of 5 dentists recommend Crest. What's happening there, they've talked about the benefit before, so they're not even touching the benefit, but they're making a claim that's attached to proof in one sentence. 4 out of 5 dentists recommend Crest. It's a formulation of that. So if you're thinking Crest isn't the best, that's basically what they're saying. They're saying buy Crest because 4 out of 5 dentists recommend Crest. So whatever toothpaste you thought was the best, they're making a claim contrary to that. Crest is the best. 4 out of 5 dentists recommend it. It must be the best. So you see how that works. So claim, proof, benefit. That's the general order, but it can be mixed up in any way as long as all 3 of those come together for the same outcome. You're changing the belief, and then you're redirecting that new belief back to the benefit, which is the goal, the desired outcome. So I talk about, the 2 things that are most important in the sales is to seduce the heart and convince the head. The reason the heart is first is the heart is where desire lives. The heart is what wants your product. The heart is what wants the outcome. And what happens is the heart is like your subconscious. It's like a little kid. It doesn't know any better. It doesn't know right from wrong. It just knows what it knows, and it wants what it wants, and it wants it when it wants it. You know, and most kids want things right now, right? They want it. They don't care. They don't want to listen to reason. There is no reason. They just want what they want. When they want the candy, guess what? There's no change in that. So what happens is now you have the head. You have to seduce the heart and then convince the head. The head is like the conscious mind. The job of the head is to protect the heart. So the head steps in and it says, oh, wait a minute, heart. I don't want you to get broken. I know that's not true, so I don't want you to get broken, so no, we're not going to buy that. Sorry, but we're just not going to do it. I'm protecting you. So it's the head. That's where the beliefs live. That's where, you know, seducing the heart, that's where you create the demand and desire for your product. That's where you talk about, you know, the benefits. You talk about the outcomes. You talk about what they want. That's it. You know, you're seducing the heart with the promise of the outcome. And at the same time, you have to convince the head so it doesn't step in the way and say no. So seduce the heart, convince the head. That's the recipe for a sale. Doesn't matter what you're selling or how much it costs. That's it. That's what it takes. It takes those two components to make it happen. So anyway, all right. Other questions? You guys have any questions here before we wrap up for today? Jim, that's a cool picture you got there. Jim and Steven, you guys got great photos there. The rest of you need to go in and optimize your account so we can see you. Hey, Russ. There's Steven.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've got mine. I've got the little round picture, so when I'm not live, it shows who I am, who you talking to. That's so cool. All right. So, Russ, did I get your questions answered? I know we need to put you on with a tech thing, but outside of that, no, you're muted there. It looks like you're.
There we go.
Oh, there we go. Now I can hear you.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I do need to speak with somebody. I don't want to bring it up now.
Okay.
But, yeah, I understand what you're saying about the brand links, brand anchor text. That's if you have control and you can do that on your site. But I guess I was specifically looking at SEMrush, and last week you talked about I need to build up the brand, and I'm still not clear on externally ways that I can build the brand externally.
Okay, no, what I was referring to, I wasn't really referring to internal links there, although same rules apply, really. What I was referring to is like if you're doing link building, let's say you're doing a link building campaign, rather than focusing on a particular keyword, you could focus more on that phrase, that conversational phrase. That way, when the links are being built in your link building campaign, you're building more of anchor text links that have your brand built into it, and they're conversational. So that was kind of more what I was geared toward on that.
And technically, how would I build that brand?
Well, for that, basically, we're referring to a link building campaign. The best way to do that at this point is really what's called outreach, and it's researching sites that makes sense that you could create really good content for and have them publish your content on their site. And then that way you can control those links coming back to you. So if you find, like, let's say there's somebody in the advocate world, like I'll use the sunscreen thing as an example. If you found somebody that had a website that was promoting anti-cancer, a fight against skin cancer, that would be a perfect person for you to offer up an article of how UV protection is like a really key thing to help prevent skin cancer. And that's an outreach. So that's identifying them, sending them an email with an offer of, hey, I've got a really good article, or I could write a really good article for your viewers that would help them. And in exchange, I'd like to put a couple of links in there back to some more reference material in case they want to learn more. That's the ultimate link building campaign. You cannot get any better at this given point in the game than that.
Okay, now I got it.
That's a totally natural link. The more of those that you can find, the better off that you'll be. And even if you want to put the same article or a very similar variation of it on like multiple different providers, all you have to do is just change the anchor text slightly. Vary up the anchor text so you don't have a bunch of the same anchor text coming in. You don't want to have over optimization. The more natural that you can make everything look, the better off that you'll be.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of, in link building, that's kind of the keys to the kingdom. If you get that, that is going to benefit your SEO tremendously.
Gotcha.
So,
okay, thanks, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll work on Chris. I'm going to send him a Skype right after this to see if I can, I don't know what his schedule is, but I'll see if I can get you guys together as quick as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, my pleasure. All right, wrapping up anything, any last minute stuff here? Anybody got anything before we wrap up here? Let's see.
John, are you going to do a training on SEMrush?
Yes, I am. I'm going to do that. I was going to probably sometime this afternoon, I'll look at my calendar and I'll figure out when I can do that. Probably in the next week or so. I'll schedule that, send a notice out to everybody. And whether you have SEMrush or not, I'm still going to send the notice out and invite everybody on there for the training. Because I think it's just a phenomenal tool. I think it's a phenomenal tool, and even if you didn't buy it before, to get the better deal, it might be something that people would still be interested in, even at the higher price. It's worth it no matter how you slice it.
So I bought it, and they sent me an email offering some training.
Okay.
And not sure how that's different than what you are going to do, but I'm sure your perspective is going to be different.
Yeah. I typically tend to simplify things. So yeah, I think you might find mine probably more beneficial. But they do have some really good training on a lot of different aspects, because SEMrush is a very versatile tool. I probably use 5% of it, to be honest, but it's the 5% of it that I use is incredibly powerful. It does all kinds of other stuff, and I know there's a lot of other tools out there that do the same thing. But when I buy a tool, I'm looking for something that it's going to do specifically for me. And in SEMrush, the two things about SEMrush that very specifically solve my problem is I can drop a URL in there of anybody's site. I can see what keywords they rank for, so I know what keywords they have traction for, so I know where I can get the fastest results. That's a big one. That's huge for me. And then the other thing is the new content piece that they just recently added, which is why I was telling everybody, if you want this, get it now, because it's not going to be in the pro version after the end of September. And that's the content piece where they tell you what content is being consumed on the internet and like what questions are being asked around stuff. And it's really, really a powerful tool just for those two things. And it does so much more. There's a whole boatload of other stuff it'll do for you. And, but like I said, I get more than my money's worth out of just those two things. So cool.
Well, I thought that for me, the content was big.
Yeah. To know, just to know what content you should put on your site is a huge thing.
Yes.
People can do keyword research, but the keyword research doesn't really tell you like what titles are getting clicked on and what type of questions are being asked and all of that stuff. So yeah, you're right. That's a huge resource.
And so the question was, what are my top 3 goals using SEMrush, right?
Okay.
So for me, content, I'd like to look at competition.
Okay, yeah, competition's really big.
And I'm just kind of all over the place what I think my 3rd one ought to be. Honestly, if they have good answers to get me started on those 2, I would be a happy camper, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think content and looking at what your competition are doing, and then your 3rd one is just to monitor your own progress.
Okay.
Like if you put in your domain, you can see what keywords you rank for, and then you can take a screenshot of that and then just do that like once a month, and you can track your progress. In fact, they actually have a tool inside SEMrush that you can track. It'll automatically track your progress for you.
Oh, that's nice.
And you can, and here's a really cool thing, and this goes back to I'm only using 5% of it. This is something I used for a couple of clients, and I really should use it for everybody, but I just haven't gone back to do it. I set them up with their site and then their competitors' sites to see how they stacked up against each other and to track the monthly progress of that. So every month they'll send me a report for that client, and it will show me where they are in comparison to the competitors and how much up and down has moved on not only them, but their competitors too. So I can see when their competitors are making a move, then we can go, oh, well, let's look and see what they're doing, because they're getting big benefit out of it. So that's a really cool feature.
Great.
So cool stuff.
So let me ask you something. I see somebody has a question about branding and affiliate programs. And I'm still struggling with affiliate stuff. It occurred to me at some point recently that when we were new, the first 10 years or so, it was very apparent that word of mouth marketing was huge for us, because it just meant people told everybody that it works, go and buy it, here we go.
Yeah.
And at some point, and I can truly remember when it was, I got an email from somebody that said, I'm an Olympic athlete and I used your product and I really was struggling and it really works. So if you will, I'm writing a book. If you will pay me, I will tell everybody about your product. Clearly, if I didn't want to pay, they weren't going to tell anybody. And it seems to me like that's what affiliate stuff has turned into. I will only say I like your product if you are paying me. And there's just something about that just grates on me. I just can't imagine. So for people that want to be my affiliate, I just don't know what I think about that,
Okay. Well, I can kind of address that. I don't know if it'll make sense or not, but you are correct. I mean, the thing that you mentioned first, the fact that they would put you in their book if you paid them. What that's known as, that's a very common thing. It's known as a celebrity endorsement. And this is huge in the sports world. I mean, you'll see celebrity sports people endorsing products for the purpose of being paid. They actually have an agent that sets those deals up for them, and they shop for the best deal. It's like who will pay them the most, that's what they're going to fall in love with. And yeah, it's kind of a shitty deal, honestly, because think about that. How much integrity is behind that person if they're going to endorse whoever's going to pay them the most? So I totally get what you're hanging your hat on there, and I'm in agreement with it. But in the affiliate world is kind of the same. And with affiliate, if you've got a good affiliate, what they've done is they've built a list, and their whole goal in mind with building that list was to monetize the list by selling specific offers to it. So it's all business. It's like none of this is personal. It's all business, and it's a business decision. So for you, as far as moving the product, as long as the product is right for the end person, I really wouldn't care how you get it in their hands. If you use somebody that is promoting you for the wrong reason, as long as they're promoting the right product to the right person, I don't really care that it's the wrong reason of why they did it. That's the way I look at it. Now, if you're paying somebody that is going to promote it to the wrong audience, then I think that's just a bad business decision on your part of why you would do that. But if you have a match, if that person has your audience and that person it can influence your audience that's in their pot, and your product will actually help them, then I think that's worth the bite. If you want to call it a bite, that's kind of worth doing. And again, the FTC has really cracked down on this too, Federal Trade Commission, and they have basically made you put a statement in. If you're doing paid endorsements, you have to disclose that now. You have to say this person is promoting this product because I'm paying them to do it, not because they're using it or not because it's the best product. They're telling you they're recommending it to you because I paid them to do it. And they're really forcing people to do that now. So they had the same feeling you did, and they wanted to make sure that people don't have the wool pulled over their eyes. But to me, I will do a deal with somebody, even if they're not my favorite person or their tactics aren't my favorite, as long as I know if they can move the right product to the right people and those people will get the help they need, then I think that's the juice is worth the squeeze.
So how do I go about comparing the cost of paying affiliates versus paying for Google advertising?
Well, the thing with affiliates is when you go into an affiliate relationship, you know exactly what your cost is going to be. Your cost is going to be whatever the commission is, and if they don't sell anything, they don't make anything. So there was no cost. So that's the one thing about affiliate marketing that everybody loves so much, is they know exactly what it's going to cost. Now, usually it costs you more than you could buy that on your own, but it's a lot more difficult to do that. Like if you've got an influencer sitting at your left, and this person has a list of 50,000 people, and they say, if you give me 50%, I'll promote the product. And you go, okay, well, let's do that. You sell a boatload of product, you made 50%, you didn't make as much as you might have made otherwise, but it was money you didn't have yesterday. So I take that as a win. Now on the right, if I go over there, I can do paid advertisements, and I can probably do the same amount of sales in a much longer time frame, but maybe it cost me 50% less, so I made 50% more margin. That's a win too. Why not do both, really? But as far as figuring out, what the cost of the advertising is, you have to have enough time and experience under your belt to know what that advertising cost is going to be. You can't figure that out without running enough ads to get those numbers. So there's no way for me to say on any given ad campaign of what the costs are going to be and what the profit margins are going to be. We've been running paid ad campaigns in multiple platforms for a long time, and the truth is they change every time we run them. We'll run an ad campaign for 2 months, we'll optimize it, we'll get better results, we'll run it for another 2 months, we'll optimize it, we'll get better results. Typically, the longer we run it, the more we can dial it in and the better we can make it. But in some cases, it's taking a year, 2 years to have run enough ad spend that we really have it figured out. And now at that point, we can say, okay, well, now we have a money printing machine. We know if we put $1 in, we're going to get $1.25 back. Or if we put $1 in some cases, we're going to get $3 back. Whatever that number is, then at that point you can say, okay, now we have the figures, we have the capability to scale. We can say, if we want to make, $10 million this year, we have to run X amount of ads. And that's what it's going to cost to get that profit. So when you look at it that way, it's not really a cost. It's basically, it's what you have, that's basically the mode of what you have to do during the year to generate that profit. It doesn't wind up being a cost, it winds up being a profit. A lot of times in the beginning, it is a cost. It's a cost to run ads and have them not work and figure the stuff out. Maybe you didn't get the messaging right. There's a million things of why an ad won't work and why it costs a lot to get that process figured out. But I can tell you one thing, it's probably one of the most worthwhile things that you'll ever do in your business is figure out how to buy customers. When you can buy a customer, when you can figure out the cost to acquire a customer and the lifetime value of that customer is higher than the cost to buy them, and get that part figured out, to me, that's worth everything. I mean, that's what business is all about. So that's the goal. If we looked at a timeline, that would be our desired outcome. Figure out what a customer's worth and figure out how to purchase that customer for less than that. In a lot of cases, we want to figure out how much they're worth in the first 30 days or the first 90 days. And we want to be able to buy them for less than that, knowing that we're going to make money off of them for the next 5 years or maybe forever. In your case, once somebody gets on, it's a forever thing. So what's it cost? What's the value of the customer, and then what's the cost to acquire the customer? Those are really important numbers to know, so you can crunch them and be able to scale your business and know what's going on.
Okay.
So.
Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here. I know we've gone a little over. I appreciate you guys being here and staying on. And like I said, this call is for you guys for anything you need. Generally, if I got the time, I'll stay on here as long as it takes. So, all right. So have a great week. We'll be back on regular time next week again, and we'll see you then.